Good morning, everyone, and welcome to McNulty's Book Corral. Today I want to talk about a collection of journalism by Joseph Mitchell. It's called Up in the Old Hotel, and this paperback edition has a photograph of Joseph Mitchell on the cover. What a great photograph. That's old school stuff. Joseph Mitchell wrote for The New Yorker for many decades, and this compiles many of his collections. He published many collections of his journalism over the years. This is old school journalism, when journalism was objective and the opinions were kind of held back a little bit. You know, unlike today where you have gonzo journalism and the new journalism and so forth. And what you have today is a profusion and a hodgepodge of opinions, generally negative opinions from people with an agenda. Journalism is no longer the objective endeavor that it used to be. That perhaps is a topic we can save for another day. But in its day, journalism was one of the great American forms, and Joseph Mitchell was at the top of that. Top of the heap right here. Look at this guy. I'll have a scan of that, like I said. Now, Joseph Mitchell was born in 1908, and he died in 1996. This includes a short piece he wrote, I think it's from the late 30s, early 40s, called Professor Seagull, about this bohemian. This is New York stuff, by the way. He's in New York. A bohemian that he met named Joe Gould. And Joe Gould is attempting to translate various works of literature into seagull language. A real character. All right, so Joseph Mitchell wrote about this. And this is what great journalism does back in the day. You know, there's a lot of great journalism came out of the 30s and 40s that was objective, believe it or not, I know. And Professor Seagull is the first, and then all of the other stories are great too. He covers the New York East Coast experience exclusively. Again, most of this, if not all of it, was published in the New Yorker magazine when the New Yorker magazine was something worth reading. And because they had guys like Joseph Mitchell writing for them, you know, and the stuff is great. It's nonfiction, slice of life from that long gone era that I talked about that relates directly to such fiction authors as Irwin Shaw, John Cheever, etc. that I've talked about in some of the other episodes. I really like that period in American and British literature. A lot of fascinating material going on. So this is a great collection. It's a long one. The pieces vary in length. You have short pieces and longer ones. Now, I talked about the piece that he published called Professor Seagull. At the end of his career, in the 60s, 1964, and it's included here, he follows up on that character who's translating literature into Seagull, this bohemian guy. And that's a novella, really, and that he wrote, and it's called Joe Gould's Secret. It's included in this collection. So between Professor Seagull and then the concluding piece, Joe Gould's Secret, Joseph Mitchell comes full circle with his career. He lived for many years. He died in 1996. He lived for many years after that and worked as an editor, but I don't know. Apparently, he didn't publish much, if anything, after the 1960s, and that's discussed a little bit in the introduction here. He had a fascinating career. He was a great stylist. Objective journalism, a slice of life from a bygone era when men wore fedoras. And take a look at that. When men wore fedoras and top coats, and you know, the writing was objective, clarity of vision, clarity of style. Really interesting material to look at. I'm really quite fond of this collection. Doesn't have the pomp and circumstance that would characterize journalism later. Maybe I'll talk about some of the journalism that came after the late 1950s. Things changed with what they call the new journalism. Tom Wolfe, Gay Talese, Hunter S. Thompson, and so forth. For better or worse, it changed. Today, I don't have much respect for most of the journalists working out for the major publications today at all, because they have an agenda. They're not being objective. A little bit of a rant. You know, there you go. You get a little bit of my opinion there. But the bottom line is, if you're interested in these things as I am, check out Up in the Old Hotel. Great pieces of journalism by Joseph Mitchell. Thank you for checking in. As always, I appreciate it. Have fun at the bookstores or the libraries. Stay well.